Hey Wilson, welcome to Black Metal Review here on Rauta. Today's band is a kind of a new one. I couldn't even find information prior to making a review about links and whatnot. And when I was listening to this album, it's that this CD is not even released. This should be released the day after this video comes out, so it's very, very fresh from the oven. Well, without further ado, let's take a look into this Belgian black metal called Unmensch and their album called Scorn. Beautiful nature with a wolf here, which is a link which we can find here as well as a track. Now, like I said, being a new band, this is kind of a hard band to describe with history and whatever. It wasn't even on the Metal Archive site, so I don't know. There is not much to tell on my behalf. I guess after this release is out, there will be more information regarding the band and all that stuff. But this is an album that could be very, very easily to be described to you, dear audience, since this is very, very typical black metal to begin with. First of all, if you've ever listened to any kind of 90s melodic black metal from Sweden particularly, you already know what to expect. Fast tempo, melodic, straightforward, etc. That's pretty much sums up the whole album here. This is not an album that is very innovative or original, creative in that respect, but that is not a bad thing to be said, because after all, when you have a good band or a few bands and you kind of, let's not say copy, but imitate their style, when you're fascinated by some band style and you start doing that style once again yourself, which is always a little bit kind of evolution, progress, whatever, and you hit the jackpot with finding the right tools, right ingredients, then there's nothing to complain really, except for the lack of originality. But I don't think that's a big issue with Scorn, because everything you hear in this album might sound familiar, but at the same time it also sounds good. Now, bands what I'm mostly referring to with this album would be Dark Funeral and more melodic fast tempo songs by Marduk. More maybe into the Dark Funeral style, and not even a copycat style, but kind of a similar. I would say the style is very, very much the Swedish 1990s, especially early or mid 90s stuff, when these fast tempoed songs would just go blasting all the way through, and also at the same time being very melodic, even with some soothing moments here and there. So Scorn is kind of a tricky thing. At the same time, it's very familiar and unoriginal, but it also a good album with really, really nice production. Especially the guitar sound, which is kind of like a wasp in a, I don't know, maybe a metallic kind of a can or something, and it would be buzzing. Now, I know some people are more for down-tuned guitars and kind of a heavier sound, but to me, this kind of a very, I wouldn't call it too thin, but thin and also vicious sound is very, very good when it comes to this kind of melodic fast tempo stuff, because it needs to be clear without getting all that fuzzy and mushy and all that stuff. So you need to kind of figure out what the guitar is actually doing when the tempo is fast and it's melodic, and the guitar is doing all kinds of crazy stuff instead of being kind of a low tempo stuff. Also, the vocalist, while not being the most original and memorable with its vocal range and use of the sound, or I mean vocals in general, I think it's actually good, because it's not doing something different just for the sake of it, but actually trying to include kind of a real kind of black metal vocals, which are very true to the genre, and especially this kind of style of black metal. So I could say very well executed album with nice production and all that stuff. If only some of the songs were maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit more to the point, maybe a little bit more, can I say, catchier, this would be a real killer album for 2019. But even with these things that are not present here, and even with this lack of originality, I want to underline it. I know, and I'm repeating myself, this is a strong album that should be checked out if you are in the melodic black metal in the first place. If you are not, then who cares? Anyway, go check out those samples. I hope they are there to be linked by the time this comes out. See you and take care.